Hi, my name is Sarah Reese and I am on the board of directors of the International Dance Teaching Standards. We are a global organization whose main mission is to raise the standards of dance education worldwide. I would like to speak today on behalf of the dance industry. The main topic I would like to discuss today is what exactly happens at the dance studio level in terms of thinking of it as a sport. As we go through this COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen that many activities are being classified by their high risk nature. And what I would like to do is speak today, particularly towards the medical community, to help them understand exactly the types of things that are going on in the dance studio and what modifications we can make to ensure that we are becoming a low risk activity and to ensure that our cardiovascular output isn't being classified as high risk. I have 25 years in the experience at all levels, including as a dance educator, instructor, choreographer, performer myself, as well as an event producer. I have seen the dance industry from all levels of organization, including young toddlers through to professionals and recreational level adults. My educational background includes a bachelor's degree in education. I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. My master's degree is in coaching studies and human performance. I have presented at the International Association of Dance Medicine and Science in Montreal. I have experience in teaching the school system within the province of British Columbia as a physical education teacher, as well as a dance instructor. I have a doctorate level research in educational leadership, and I'm currently working on a PhD in sports science. Through these last 25 years of working in the dance industry, as well as a teacher in the school system, I have really seen and understand and know exactly what goes on physically in our dance training, and I would love to share that information with you to help you better understand what dance is really about and how we can ensure that we can do this safely through this pandemic, as our number one priority is keeping the vulnerable people safe as well as keeping these businesses alive. Before I start my presentation, I quickly want to address the passion that we are seeing within the dance industry globally. This is because there has been some unclear reasons behind the closures. There has been lack of communication, and that has resulted in the dance teachers around the world speaking up, posting images, posting videos, lots of blog, written content, and it may feel like the dance industry feels like they're being treated unfairly, and they're coming from a very strong place of passion. And this is just because dancers and dance teachers are really passionate people. They pour their heart and their soul into their work. So it's very difficult for them to see it closed. And if it does need to be closed because it's unsafe, they really just want the answers why. They want that communication and the reasons why this is happening. And so that is why some of this passionate discourse has taken place. This is really because people are losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihoods, they've run out of money, there's no more savings, they can't make their mortgage, they're having a hard time feeding their children, and they're just really struggling when their livelihood and their life work has been taken away. So that is the reason why we are seeing this raw passion within the dance industry and why people are just looking for answers. So I really want to be an advocate on behalf of that, and this is not about that we feel that we shouldn't step down in on behalf of the greater good of society and keeping our vulnerable people protected. We absolutely support and admire the work that our frontline workers are doing and all those in the hospitals to keep people safe. This has really just been coming from a place of passion because of losing our livelihoods and our life's work, and just really wanting answers and finding reasons to how can this move forward fairly, and the feelings that get hurt when we don't have the answers. So today, I would like to talk about what is dance as it relates to sport, and how does that relate to the other activities that we are seeing that have been allowed to stay open through this pandemic. So as you may have noticed, there's been lots of discussion about different sports. For example, hockey was allowed to continue while dance was closed. And so the dance community wanted to know why was that existing, and why do they get to stay open and we don't? And so now I would like to talk about dance as a sport, and then I can compare it to some of those other sports that have continued to exist, and then hopefully moving forward we'll have a better understanding of the dance training that actually goes on in the studios, and we can make appropriate decisions accordingly. As we go through this COVID-19 pandemic, we are seeing that the activities that are considered high risk have very strong cardiovascular output. It's very important that we understand that dance is not a cardiovascular activity. Teachers spend a lot of the time in the center addressing the dancer's technical merit. So that involves discussing their posture, discussing their line, getting the dancers to make their moves in harmony with each other, working on their timing, working on their placement, understanding where their body should be in space. When they're doing that, they're quite frequently standing still, looking in the mirror and using the mirror for feedback. This is not the kind of thing where they are working really, really, really hard and expelling a lot of cardiovascular output and putting the aerosols into the air. There are often dance fitness classes that are put into the dance studio, and this exists to help with the cross training for the dance classes. Those classes are higher risk, but those classes can be taught on Zoom or they could be canceled for the time being. Those are the kinds of classes that see really increased high intensity interval training and high intensity cardiovascular output. But the vast majority of our dance classes and our dance training, again, are low cardiovascular output, and they are not high risk activity. And these dancers are doing them in segregated boxes with physical distancing in place. So as we've seen, only 8% of participants actually even met that cardiovascular output rigorous activity for 30 minutes guideline by the Center of Disease Control. When we look at how dancers are training at the studio, we need to understand the physical characteristics of dance as a sport. And what's important here is even though that the class is running for an hour, there are frequent stops and breaks in the training. The warm-up and stretch are low cardiovascular output. It is low intensity and it's easy to maintain physical distancing while we're doing this. Sometimes the dance teachers will seek out other cardiovascular training to put into their warm-up, but during a pandemic, it's very easy to dial this back and make other considerations. When we are reviewing our technical elements, it is very low cardiovascular output and it's very easy to maintain physical distancing also. During this phase of class, there is very low intensity movement. Teachers are marking the movement sequences and dancers are following along. In essence, when we are marking things, we are doing things at very low intensity. We are doing them in slow motion. And the purpose of this activity is to really understand and learn the technical merit of what is to exist. It's less about the physical activity involved in doing that. When we are learning our choreographic content, it is also very low cardiovascular output. Teachers break things down very slowly, count by count. Historically speaking, choreographic content would be great if the dancers could be close together, as that involves some element of artistic merit. But as we evolve with the times, we can easily adjust this accordingly. And most dance studios currently have boxes sectioned off in their dance studio to help spatially separate the dancers. On average, a dance routine lasts about 3 minutes in length, which we perform in a semi-anaerobic state. Due to the nature of how we train, these technical reviews and the marking of the movement sequences ensures that we don't really fall into that aerobic state for much length of a typical dance class. This means that dance is primarily a very low cardiovascular output, and we should not be lumped together with the high intensity interval training or the high risk activities. This is confirmed in a study on physical activity in youth dance class, finding that moderate to vigorous activity only occurred on average 36% of a dance class. This exists because a large part of that class is spent reviewing the technical content and reviewing choreographic considerations. In the study, various dance styles were looked at and reviewed on their basis of moderate to vigorous physical activity measurements. Latin dance only had 13% of that class hitting that range. Hip hop was the highest, but still coming in quite low at only 57%. This is still incredibly low comparative to the other activities listed as the high risk for spread of COVID-19. It's very important to understand that only 8% of children actually met the Center for Disease Control 30-minute physical activity guideline.